and probably should have my mic up here, right? So you guys are probably wondering what's going on. Why am I on an hour early? Actually, about an hour early. Well, simple. Today is weigh-in Wednesday. And I made a commitment last Wednesday to get down to 300 pounds. Last Wednesday I weighed in at 310 pounds. Well, when I woke up this morning, in all of my excitement, I weighed in and I was 305, 5 pounds short of my goal of hitting 300 pounds. And I thought to myself, you have two choices. You can just weigh in and put the old 305 up and just let everybody know you did what you could and you failed. And by the way, that's not true. I didn't do what I could. I sabotaged myself, which I spoke about Monday, and made some piss poor choices last week and even a little bit this weekend. Not too bad this weekend, but a little bit last week. And so I thought, self, what you gonna do about it? Well, I'm gonna get up and ride early. So the goal right now is to get on and before 7 a.m., which is my normal time to ride, do everything I can to get down to 300 pounds. So over the next hour, I'm gonna try to lose 5 pounds, which is possible. Believe it or not, that's actually approximately what I lose every time I ride. And I know and understand that it's water weight, and so don't get excited. It's not real weight, but I could sit there and accept the fact that I failed, or I could try to do something about it. Now, back in 2012, and I've spoke about this often, my results came in when I weighed in. I weighed in Tuesday nights, and let's see, so Tuesday nights and even Wednesday mornings. When I would weigh in, it was after I finished my workout. So I would work out Tuesday night and even Wednesday morning. So similar to what I had done last night, which wasn't a workout. I went for a just under 3-mile hike when I got out of work. You know, and then of course right now I'm going to try to ride for an hour before my normal hour ride in an attempt to lose weight before the weigh-in time. The only difference between 2012 and 2019 is that I'm sharing this whole ride with you guys, this whole experience with you of getting down to 244 pounds. But I had to force myself to go after a more aggressive goal. And so if you're jumping on and you're a little confused as to what's up, why I'm here, that's why I'm here. Like I said, I could lay down and accept the fact that I failed to meet my goal, or I could take matters into my own hands in an attempt to get there before my normal time of 7 a.m. That's it. None of this shit really matters to anybody, but I'm going to do whatever it takes to try to get there in the next hour, if I can. And I thought, well, do I share it with everybody and go live, or do I just ride and explain to everybody how it all went down, you know, at 7 a.m.? Well, my goal this time is to be 100% transparent, not that I wasn't last time. I was not intentionally not transparent. So, thought, well, let's share the whole damn thing with them. So here we are. this won't be doom and gloom. This isn't the idea of riding earlier this morning. This is just to show you that it's kind of part of the journey. This is what it is. This isn't abnormal, it's normal. But, you know, are you the kind of person, when you're looking at yourself and your goals, that's just willing to accept failure or defeat? Or are you willing to do whatever it takes to actually try to attempt to meet that goal? And so, I'm willing to do what it takes. Hopefully it'll be enough. Maybe next time I won't buy those sugar-free cookies and eat the whole damn box on the way home, which is what happened, I think, last Friday. So maybe I won't buy the sugar-free ice cream and eat the whole damn half gallon in a 3-day period of time. You know, maybe I won't do that next time when I set a goal. And it's not about not enjoying yourself. It's not about, you know, there's a lot of people that use the excuse of, well, I'm not going to give up. That, you know, life's not worth it living if you got to give up some of those things. Well, for people like me that are obese, life is worth living. And so, fair or not fair, we have to give up certain things. Bad choices, poor choices, or, you know, the unconscious eating that we do, those things have to change. And so you've got to be a little extreme for a while, you know. And I think that it's somewhat interesting when you think of the word unconscious. We don't eat consciously. In most cases, even the healthiest people out there don't eat consciously. Yeah, I understand that you think the healthiest people out there are the ones that meal prep and all of that. Those are not necessarily, in my opinion, the most healthy people out there, because they've made food a priority, and that priority, let me just put it this way: when you focus in on something like that consciously, you have a better chance of effing it up because of that. It's the unconscious mind that is the one that controls most of your life. We go through the motions because that's how we cope. That's how we just live day to day. We can't consciously be thinking about everything we do, every movement that we make. If we did, we would never advance. We have to be on autopilot in some respects. And so, the unconscious mind is what we really have to be looking for as far as our achievement. We need to achieve an unconscious mind that's healthier than our current conscious mind. I currently unconsciously will eat more than I need to. I will snack on more than I need to. I will eat foods that give me a sensation that my body desires. Sugars, things like that. So the goal of transformation, you can say an epiphany that I had, was to truly transform my unconscious mind to accept a healthier lifestyle, so that I'm not even thinking about it. The choices I make are just quick and natural and normal. Small portion sizes, fruits and vegetables, whole foods, not processed. Right now, unconsciously, we just buy the food we buy. Even our health food is processed or salted, preserved. And so, getting to that point of having an unconscious mind of health it should be the goal for everybody, because we just, you know, the fact is that you're going to eat. Unless you're on one of them crazy starvation diets, which, by the way, is a conscious decision. in most cases, not all. So in this consciousness that we have of diet, that's not the goal. The goal is to become unconscious of your healthy lifestyle. That it is what it is. It is, you do. It's just a do. What you do every day is living that unconscious, healthy life. Because believe it or not, you currently live an unconscious, unhealthy lifestyle. That's why people like myself are so fat and obese. Now this isn't something you're probably going to hear from anybody else. It might be a new idealism for you to accept, but the fact is that the goal is to get to an unconscious mind of health, where everything you do is just the healthiest choice. It's not something you think about, it's just what you do. I know that probably sounds like some hippity-dippity-doo stuff, but looks like we froze up here again. That's surprising, but it is what it is, right? Or maybe we just froze up on the old live. Yeah, we did. We didn't actually freeze up. We just froze up on Facebook Live. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Dave Bernard. I am a 47-year-old fat man. On January 3rd of 2019, my surgeon basically told me I was too fat to have a surgery, which is not really true. He basically said that I would have more complications if I had the umbilical hernia operation that I need on January 4th, which was the date that I was supposed to have that. So we chose to put it off. Right now the goal is to have that surgery in January of 2020, unless something happens where it becomes an emergency and we have to do it beforehand. So I'm well monitored as far as my belly is concerned. You know, I have to get down to a BMI of 35. For me, that's the equivalent of a BMI of 25 according to my surgeon, just because of my body type. He's smart enough to know that chart isn't accurate for everybody, which I appreciate, because most scientists aren't that smart. The chart is the chart to them. So for me, a BMI of 35 is 244 pounds, and that's where, if you ever see the hashtag Mission 44, that's what that means. It means 244 pounds. Of course, I'd love to get below that, but I've lived this obsession for quite a few years now of powerlifting. And as a powerlifter, the heavier you weigh, the stronger you are. And so I'm transitioning my body away from one obsession to another obsession, or trying, to be honest with you, creating another obsession, which is cycling. And I chose cycling for several reasons. One is the fact that it's not bad, it's not too bad on my joints. And so as I get heavier and older, you know, my hip seems like maybe something's going on there. I've had several knee surgeries as a young man playing football here in the United States. And so my joints appreciate cycling more than any other form of exercise. Matter of fact, if you ever catch my stride in any of the hikes, you'll notice I unconsciously have a limp in my right leg. And part of the hip reason that I have in my left hip is because of the compensation I've done over the years, and of course several years inside of the manufacturing facilities, and those hard concrete floors didn't help. But the cause is the knee surgeries on the hip side more than anything, I believe. So my goal is to get there, create a new obsession of cycling, which is going to be better for me than weightlifting. I do want to get back to weightlifting though. I just want to find a way to mentally rid myself of the desire and or egotistical desire of powerlifting. It doesn't matter, and it's a mental struggle for me because in many cases I am the strongest guy in the room. Not all cases, so the other alpha psychos out there, don't worry about it, but in most cases I'm the strongest guy in the room, even in my 40s. And I wanted to show everybody without talking. To me, actions always spoke louder than words, and I would just didn't have to say a word to anybody in the gym. I'd just, you know, put the weight on and then strut around like, hey, did you see that? Stupid, right? Doesn't mean anything. But part of the male psyche for some of us, this masculine psyche, to be better at something. And of course, when you're better at a certain thing, that's all you end up doing. You try to, you don't balance yourself very well. Well, for me, heart health and everything else, unfortunately, needs my body to be lighter. So I'm hoping that over this next year, I can create this new obsession that's cardio driven. And trust me, I've been trying to do this for years, and what's driven me differently this time is the fact that I have to have this surgery and I have to be at a very healthy weight in order for me to have the success that I need to have. And I need to stay there too. So umbilical hernias are a very normal occurrence for obese people. Now, you can have, good morning. So, I mean, you can have a weaker abdominal wall, you know, genetically, which I believe I have because I actually had a hernia over 20 years ago in my college playing days. But I also believe that part of that was a little bit of myself. I worked so hard weightlifting in my early years, in my teen years, but I never concentrated on my core. I never did core work. And I believe that if I would have, I may not have gotten the hernias. That's not necessarily, you know, a true statement. I just feel like that's probably what's going on or what happened. Hey Tina, if you're trying to figure out why I'm on so early, today's weigh-in Wednesday. My goal that I set last week was to get down to 300 pounds by today. And when I woke up this morning, I weighed myself and I was 305. Disappointed to say the least. I thought I would actually be at 300. Thought I did everything right. Went on a decent pace hike last night. When I got out of work, tried to make sure I controlled portion size and what I ate, and for whatever reason I didn't lose any weight. So I thought, well, I have two choices. I can tell everybody I weigh 305, put it up on the board, or I can get on my damn bike and try to get down to 300 pounds before 7 a.m. Then I had another choice. I can just get on and do that, see what happens, or I can go ahead and turn the camera on and show everybody and be 100% transparent, which is the goal, and just take everybody along with me. So that's why we're here early. I plan on probably right around 6:50, maybe 6:45, getting off the bike, possibly stopping the stream, probably stopping the stream, and then weighing in. Hopefully I'll be at 300 pounds, and then going back on at my normal 7 a.m. time and riding for at least, attempting to ride for another hour. We'll see how my body reacts to this. Well, like I said, I mean, I have a choice. I could accept it and tell everybody I didn't make it, or I could do everything in my power to try to get there before my self-inflicted time limit of 7 a.m. just realize that that's this whole thing. This isn't being driven by anybody else out there. This is me. This is about my goals, my desires. I could easily have the surgery today. I could have had the surgery January 4th, 2019, but it would have been a higher risk. I would have had twice as long of a recovery time. I likely would have had a biomesh put in because of the size of my belly. And this is what obesity does and why it's so dangerous and why I have to attempt, for me genetically, attempt to maintain this weight loss once I gain it and never give up on it. Because for me, and a lot of people with that, we call it a beer belly, I believe almost everybody has a weakened, thank you so much, I appreciate it. I think anybody with that beer belly actually has a weakened abdominal wall. And you'll notice that a lot of them actually have a hernia, and you can see it in their umbilical area. All you have to do is look for that little bump. And that little bump on me grew into a very giant bump. Last fall, when I didn't even realize it happened, I didn't feel it initially, but I tore my abdominal wall right in my umbilical area. And of course, what that is when it comes to a hernia is that you'll feel your intestines actually popping out. Well, which is gross. When it's small, you can push it back in. Well, my dumbass didn't really pay attention, and I lifted it one more time, and it was fairly heavyweight. And then I felt it tear. No question about it, there was a pain. My body started swelling, which pushed the intestines out even further, and the result of that is you started creating a strangulation of the intestines because they couldn't go back in. They were inflamed from the injury, and of course they were sitting outside of the abdominal wall basically. And I'm not talking like a giant knot, just a tiny little bit of the intestines. So if you're ever wondering if somebody has this issue, here are some very clear signs. And this is going to be graphic and a little gross, but I think important enough for some people to hear it. So you will likely have diarrhea. First of all, you're going to have a very red area. You're going to know there's an injury here. But you're going to have diarrhea. You will throw up. So you'll have a throw up, and it's different than just being sick off of your favorite drink. That's part of it. You will feel very lightheaded, especially if you stand up quickly. Once you are smart enough to take your blood pressure, you will likely find that it is dangerously low. All of these are signs of strangulation of your intestines. Well, I had gotten to that point. Now, that was enough for most people to go have surgery. I don't want to say I'm a doctor because I obviously am not a doctor, but I did go through pre-med courses. So, and I am old, which means I'm experienced, and I realized that there was a good chance that if I controlled the swelling, I could get past it. And I was monitoring everything by the hour, making sure that there wasn't an issue, and I was prepared. I was less than a couple of minutes away from the hospital where I work, so I was prepared, but I knew that if I could hold off, and I hate to say this, but it's the reality that most people go through, I knew that if I was willing to hold off, financially it would be better for me. I was in the process of refinancing my house, and I just couldn't afford, in the big picture, I felt like I just couldn't afford an emergency bill. I do have insurance, but I also have deductibles like everybody else. And this isn't a discussion about our healthcare system, but even people with insurance make stupid ass choices because of deductibles. In order to keep it affordable, we have higher deductibles than that was part of my decision, my decision making. And fortunately, my assessment was correct. The swelling went down within a couple of days, and I was out of that danger zone. But there was a couple of times, and my coworker will tell you, that I about went to the ground, and I'm sure my eyeballs looked like they sunk in and were rolling back at one point before I really knew what was going on. But I got through it, and then the intent when I finally met with my surgeon was to, I told him, listen, we can have the surgery immediately if you think we have to. I have no problem with that. However, if we can wait until January, let's hold off because of deductibles. And the idea there was I was going to have a minimum, I think it was a $3,000 deductible approximately. And so I could meet that deductible in January and be covered for the whole year if anything else happened from an emergency standpoint, as opposed to having the surgery in December and only being covered for a few weeks afterwards, and then having the deductible cycle start over again in January. And again, if you haven't picked up on what I'm laying down here, that's why I'm doing it in January 2020 now. It's not that I couldn't push myself maybe a little harder and get where I need to be, by let's say September or October. I'm sure I could, because that's the results I had back in 2012 was February 1st to October 7th. So I know it's possible. However, from a deductible standpoint, it just makes more sense to go to do what I'm doing now. Again, unless there's an emergency and everybody's prepared that if something happens. So cycling has come into play for a couple of reasons. One, I didn't know. And by the way, I 100% believe that cycling is nowhere near the top of the list for weight loss. It doesn't provide you the interval training opportunity that most people need in order to lose fat. Not weight, fat. And fat is really the goal. This midsection fat is the danger zone, so that's the goal. However, for me, it's easier on my joints. And though my surgeon disagrees, and I think it's pure ignorance, there isn't a lot of activity going on in my abdomen area while I cycle. And why do I say that? Well, when I get done riding, I've noticed this physical sensation of touching my stomach area and it being almost cold. So there's two things that could be going on there. One, a circulation issue. However, I feel like I would actually feel that. I'd have some discomfort, which I don't. And so what it truly means to me is that that area of my body is not engaged during my rides. And so I feel like it's a safe activity for my condition, for my hernia, my umbilical hernia condition. So I'm sure we could find all kinds of fun sensors to tell me whether I'm right or wrong, but that physical coolness that I feel in my abdomen after I get done riding is proof enough for me. I don't need to spend a few $100s looking for some kind of scientific proof that what I'm saying is real. So I feel like cycling actually is fairly safe, in my opinion, for somebody that has an umbilical hernia. Of course, if you have that, if that's why you're here and you're trying to watch this journey for yourself, don't do what I'm doing without your medical professional who's insured on his opinion to tell you what they think you should or shouldn't do. And then if you choose not to follow it, you've taken that liability away from them. By the way, I used to own an insurance agency as of 3 weeks ago, and so you may hear some opinions as it relates to the insurance world. But yeah, you need to have your surgeon jump in. and let them or your physician jump in and take their 2 cents. My only cynical thoughts when it comes to doctors and health is their nutritional advice, and that's because they only have 1 to 2 courses total when it comes to nutrition. So when they tell you what to eat, what you'll notice is they normally actually don't tell you what to eat. They hand you a piece of paper that's from the Mayo Clinic or somewhere else, and they'll say, here's the diet you need to follow. Because they don't know. They actually don't know. People think that their doctor is supposed to be their full health advisor, and unfortunately they don't. They know medicine. They know a lot about anatomy and physiology, but they're not nutritionists, and they're not trained to be nutritionists. So when you have a fat little roly-poly doctor like I do, his advice for nutrition falls on 100% physical, somewhat, and philosophical deaf ears. So, and he knows that I don't respect his opinion as it relates to nutrition, and it's all right. He doesn't respect my opinion when it comes to anything, so it's okay. We mutually do not respect each other on certain topics. But I do appreciate his knowledge as it relates to the body from a physician standpoint. And right now, though there are other alternatives, I do use medicine. I do use regular Western pop and pill medicine to control my blood sugar, to help try to monitor or control my blood sugar, my cholesterol, and my blood pressure. One of the benefits of getting down to 244 pounds, and I know this because it was the results I had the last time in 2012, is that I won't have to rely on those medicines so much, or at all, possibly. Or I'll feel more comfortable with some of the natural remedies that are out there for them. But because it's such an extreme issue for me, I am taking medicine, and the shit's not free. Even with medical insurance, prescription insurance, there's a couple of them that are ridiculous. I'd hate to see somebody without insurance that, you know, I tell you what, if I didn't have insurance, maybe that would be better, because I wouldn't have this crutch or safety net that the insurance policy gives me, and I might be less reckless when it comes to doing things like powerlifting, which is pretty much what got me where I was at, because the heavier you are, the stronger you are, and your ego wants to be the strongest a-hole in the room. So, you know, it was a stupid, you know, it's one of those things where you can just keep beating yourself up about it, or change the game and do something different, and that's obviously what I've chosen. So, one other thing you guys might not have noticed today is that I am testing a new headband. If you follow me at all, you notice that, you know, I was using Sleeves, which I still represent that company as of today. But last week, I forgot to turn the temperature down the night before the ride, and so it was about 65 degrees in the house, or in my riding room, and man, it was unbearable, man, the amount of sweat that was hitting my eyeballs. So I ended up having to take it off, and, you know, I had sweat rolling in my face and all of that. And then yesterday's ride, I switched back over to Junk brand, which the reason I have Junk brand headbands is because I also am an affiliate representative of First Form Nutrition, and that's an affiliation they have, and so their First Form gear, headband wise, is from a company called Junk Brands, and there was a difference in how they're manufactured. So Sleeves uses almost the same material, I think. However, they double it up And so they take that material, fold it over, and sew it together. And so there is no, like, you know, inside. And Junk Brand just does a single strand, and then they sew on both, you know, ends of it. So you have the raw material or the backing instead. And my idea was that, or I thought that the Junk Brand might actually do a better job of absorbing. I felt like it was almost a repellent for the Sleeps brand headbands. And I think it might have been a little better, but I need to continue to test that. So I thought it was a little better wearing the Junk Brand as opposed to the Sleeps headbands. And I only wear these not for the wonderful fashion statement that they provide for me, because, you know, as you can tell, I'm fashionable, but really for the functional ability to keep the sweat out of my eyes. And I started wearing headbands also for a comfort reason, just to give me a little more comfort in my forehead when I had my helmet on. Well, I'm going back to the original company that all of us have used, especially if you're in your mid to late 40s, our entire life, which is the old cotton bandana. And that, so, not new. You can find them anywhere for $1 or less. They're super cheap. So I've just got a regular cotton bandana on, and I wanted to see if that would, how that would hold up in my ride. Now, last week, like I said, on Friday I was riding at 65 degrees, which obviously made me sweat way more than I normally would. But, and today, I think Monday, we started off at like 57 degrees in my riding room. My body temperature brought that up to 59 degrees by the end of the ride. And let's see here. Tuesday, I think we started off around 59 degrees. And this morning, I didn't pay any attention to where we started at, but right now, currently, I'm at 60.1 degrees for an indoor temperature. Now, obviously, there is a bit of a play with the outside temperature. Currently, right now, it is 29.8 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and so that helps keep the room cool. I do not have a front-facing fan yet, and that's something I'm going to have to consider. That will actually help with the sweat, and as we get into the spring and summer months, if I stay in this particular riding room, I'm going to have to do that just to keep myself cool, because that's one of the things you miss in a indoor riding is having the wind, and that actually helps keep you cool. I do have a fan going. It's above my head. It's a ceiling fan. And that's why this isn't a halo. I know a lot of you guys probably think, you know, Dave's angelic and that's a halo. It's not. God did give me this. This is God's funny little joke called a bald spot. But actually the daylight lights in the ceiling fan are right above my head. And that's what gives me the halo effect. Or hides the horns, as some of my friends would say. So it's fun, you know, I mean, I can tell you guys, if you can't make fun of yourself, then who can, right? As we get old, shit happens, we lose our hair, we lose our sight, we lose our hearing, we get a little fatter, you know, a little wrinklier. By the way, is one of the negatives of losing weight. When you're fat, for some of us, you look younger because your face is fuller or your wrinkles are not as, you know, prominent. And as we lose weight, you know, it starts to kind of just fall and get wrinkly and not look so good. And so some people stay fat just because it makes them look younger. But it's not good for them. So we're silly little creatures, us humans. we do a lot of things for really stupid reasons, And I would tend to say it's all ego. I think that it's a natural thing for humans to be egotistical, or whatever that other word is. Hey, by the way, we're about to power up. You won't see it, but you might see some. Yeah, you didn't see it. So right now, whenever you go through one of those arches, you actually power up. And in this game, because that is what it is, that can mean a lot of things. A lot of times, what it means today is that my camera froze up. That was my reward. Dicks. We'll fix that though. So a lot of times it'll give you like an arrow power up or a feather power up, or just different things that change the game and how it reacts to you. So I don't know how many pounds it knocks off, but you know, the game right now knows that I haven't even updated it, so it thinks I'm 313 pounds still. And so it reacts to that. But when you get the feather power up, it lightens the load. In my case, not enough. It would have to be so effing, you know, extreme. By the way, this is a game. It's only as good as the data that it's given. So there are people that actually cheat in this game. And though I shouldn't tell you how they cheat, because I don't want you to cheat, but I'll tell you how they cheat. The two main ways they cheat, and both of them are body measurements. Because it's relying on you being honest, and not everybody's honest, especially if they start racing each other. So what it relies on is you to put in your height and your weight. The shorter you are, the faster you will be, believe it or not. It believes that a taller person, that a 5'10" person will be faster than a 6'4" or 5 person. And their algorithm considers wind resistance as the reason. So imagine, you know, a small sail versus a large sail. The larger sail has more surface area, which is going to create more drag, and that's why they do that. So there are people that will cheat, and they're 6'4", and they may put in that they're 5'8". There's always a joke running around when I first started in Zwift that everybody just shrunk when they figured that trick out, or that cheat out. And obviously the other part of that is, the lighter you are, the less resistance you're going to get from the game. So instead of being 313 pounds, even if I put 213 pounds in, the game would be different. It would react to me differently. Well, I have no advantage of cheating. I don't race. I don't intend to race anytime soon. And so cheating, and then cheating is cheating. I mean, what kind of a message would that send to anybody that follows me, that, you know, if I got into a competitive side of this, which would be nice, I would like to get there possibly next year in 2020 after I recovered from my surgery. But what kind of a person would that be? It's not who I am. I don't want to be that person. Hopefully you've seen that in me as you followed me over the last couple of months, which is the fact that I want to be real, you know? I want you guys to see the ups and the downs. That's the difference between 2012 and 2019. In 2012, I didn't have a medium to share with you the downs, and I didn't choose to share the downs with you. I didn't choose to share the fact that I gained weight throughout the week and then would lose weight the last day or two before my weigh-in. I wasn't trying to be deceitful. I just only did things that made me feel good, and sharing my weight gain throughout the week didn't make me feel good. And then I would do similar things as I'm doing today, which is work out the night before, work out super early in the morning, and then be able to record, have a BM, a bowel movement, and then weigh in. And that would allow me to either not gain weight when I weighed in from the previous week, or actually in most cases lose some weight. And a lot of times it was a pound or two was all I ever lost, which is considered healthy, but there was a level of bullshit in there because I didn't show you I didn't show you the weight, I didn't show you the reality. And I realized this time that I wanted to help people and show them it was possible, but I was hurting them by not showing them the roller coaster ride that you have in weight loss. By only showing the positive, what I ended up creating was a situation where people would try to get on board with me and they would have that same failure and not know that if they just kept going, they would get there eventually, and they'd end up giving up and say, okay, well, it works for Dave, it doesn't work for me. Never the point. That was never, ever, ever, ever the point. And I didn't even realize I was doing it, like I said, until the epiphany I had earlier this year, that I needed to share this whole journey. Not just the positive results, not just the morning rides, the whole journey, the ups and the downs. And so when you see, and let me see if I've got it. So I haven't put on my, this is not today's weight chart, but you see the ups and the downs. I didn't even weigh myself for 6 months or more. I have a scale, very old scale, that uses an app called Lose It, and that's how I'm recording this. And it's a Bluetooth scale, so what that does is that when I weigh in, as long as my phone is attached, it will shoot over to my phone and record it instantly. So there's no getting away from it. Now, sometimes it doesn't work and I have to physically jump in there and change things, or manually enter the weight, but I don't bullshit that either. So if I have to manually put the weight in, just know that it is exactly as the scale told me. For some reason the camera just doesn't like all this, manipulation that I'm doing here. So it's good though. It's all part of being on a live. You can't predict how everything's gonna work. This whole thing is shut down in a heartbeat, and I would not know why or be able to deal with it. But so that's part of going live. It's not gonna be the smoothest conversation or video or any of those things. So let's see, how long have we been riding? About 44 minutes. It is 5:44. I don't feel like I probably got enough work in to have lost this 5 pounds of water weight that I need to lose. I will tell you, the old cotton headband is kicking the other two headband's ass, keeping the sweat out of my eyes. But the negative part of this cotton headband, I will tell you, is that though it's working really good right now, it doesn't work very well when it comes to putting my riding helmet on. I don't always wear my riding helmet when I'm on, one of the rails to trails rides that I go on. Those are controlled environments somewhat, even though nature happens and there's other riders and runners out there and walkers and dogs and things like that. But I always wear my helmet. Shouldn't say always. 99% of the time, I'll wear my helmet when I'm on the road. And so wearing the other style headbands is better for me when it comes to that. And if it runs into the case where I'm gonna have to carry a few of them, they're super lightweight, compactable, so I can carry a few of those and change them out when I'm on a longer ride on a hotter day. But for this indoor cycling game, I'm gonna tell you right now, the old cotton headband is winning the race, or the competition, or the whatever else you want to call it. So I'll be getting off here, I don't know, in the next few minutes. I'm gonna jump off, probably restart the stream after I weigh in and get all that data up there. And so I'm gonna get off here in a few minutes and go ahead and weigh myself again, and we will see you guys back here at 7 a.m. Eastern time. I appreciate you guys watching so far, but you're gonna see a second video shortly and hopefully have a graphic of where my current weight is. And just realize that though there's a slight level of bullshit involved because I didn't meet my goal when I first woke up this morning. I was at 305 pounds versus the 300 pounds I wanted to be at. I consciously decided that I wasn't going to accept it, and that I was going to get on my bike early and do everything I could to try to achieve the goal, even though it isn't coming as organic as I would like. Notice how I threw in some hippie words for you. So this is a manipulated weigh-in, only in the fact that I just got done riding for 46 minutes, and we're gonna see where we're at. Now, I don't know what I got last Monday or even yesterday. I didn't weigh myself after I rode, but I will tell you last Friday, and I know it was hotter in here, that I did lose 5 pounds during that ride. So hopefully we do again. You know what, guys? I think I'm just gonna let it go. I'm gonna jump on here and just tell everybody that I'm gonna be right back instead of cutting this short, because I think that the whole story matters, to me at least. I think I'm just gonna jump on here and just let everybody know, type something real fast. So, what do we put in here? Oh man, I guess I'm not doing that. Keyboard's too far away. But you guys get to see the dome here real quick. So, let's see, be right back. Alright, so I'm just going to write in there, be right back, weighing in now, and probably change my outfit, and so we'll see you guys in just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and change outfits, weigh in, and let you guys know where I end up. The ticker is going to be off, by the way. So I'll be right back. We'll get a weigh in and let you guys know how I did. Well, guys, I didn't make it. God damn it. Damn it. Didn't make it. I thought I would and I didn't. So I set a goal, and we're going to get back on the bike here shortly, but I set a goal of getting down to 330 pounds, and I didn't make it. I made it to 303.8. So I was at 310.8 last week, and so I lost 7 pounds. We're gonna get back on our bike here shortly, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this recorded. Alright, well, let me get this picture taken of a screenshot of my ride here, or of my weight. So this keeps happening, by the way, also, is that it's not recording. So I'm going to have to manually put this in, 303.8. My body just, or my, I wanted to just say 303, but the fact is it was 303.8, so it is what it is. So that means let me take a screenshot of this. That means I am down 9.2 pounds from day one. Not quite 10 pounds yet. So I'm down 9.2 pounds since January 6th. The heaviest that I was during that time period was 324 pounds, which I don't know that I recorded, but you just have to trust me on that one. My goal was to get down to 300 pounds today, and I did not. And so we're going to set a new goal for next week. That next week's weigh-in, I want to be at 299 pounds minimum. And so I know it doesn't seem like much, but this has been a battle for me, guys. This has been an absolute war on my own personal weight, and it's not coming off easy. If you want to know how I did back in 2012, I very well documented my weekly progress, and so I do know that I weighed start off at 292. I lost 16 pounds in my first month. I think 31 pounds by the end of my second month, and of course 41 pounds at the end of my third month, or my first 90 days. And I apologize that you gotta look at my unshaven dome that froze up here, but we'll take that off real fast so you guys don't have to stare at it. So that was the reality of 2012, and that was a great success. I do remember continuing on. After that first 90 days, I kind of didn't know what was next, and so I just kind of sat in a holding pattern for the fourth month, or it was May of that year, and then I refocused and created a new goal in June. And that new goal was to become a weight loss champion for the company that I started to represent, for the products I was using from them that actually helped me get there. And sorry guys, I just gotta change up this chart real fast. Alright, here we go. So there we are, 303.8. I'm not going to change the ticker down here. I'll get that changed later. Just realize that normally this is all done before we start riding, but I got on about an hour earlier than I normally do, because when I woke up this morning I was 305 point whatever the hell. I don't know exactly what the exact weight was. And I thought, you know what, screw this. I'm going to try to ride and get off as much weight as I can before 8 o'clock. And I actually kind of truly thought that I might be able to pull off losing 5 pounds in 40 some odd minutes, only because I had done that on last Friday. The difference between last Friday and today is that it was about 5 degrees hotter in here, and so I was sweating more, and I lost more water weight. And maybe I had a better shit, I don't know. Sorry guys, I am not the most refined gentleman you will ever meet. But, so, I gave it the old Boy Scout try, which by the way, I was kicked out of the Boy Scouts. And not for the joke you're thinking. But, I gave the old Boy Scout try and came up short. And so, people will tell you don't weigh yourself every day, and I think that's bullshit in the beginning, you know, especially when you're first starting out. I think weighing yourself every day is maybe not for everybody, and if it's hurting you, don't do it. But I guess I'll just tell you the reason I do it. I do it because I want to remember the mistakes I made, and I want to be conscious of them without daunting myself with the responsibility of journaling every single fucking thing I eat, right? And so when I weigh in and I realized that I failed today to meet my goal, I know why. I can look back to very specific things I did, even yesterday. Some choices I allowed myself to make that sabotaged this particular weigh-in. And so was I even perfect yesterday? I wasn't. We had PNC Bank came into work to pitch their business or co-worker sponsored, whatever the F you want to call it, luncheon. And they brought some Subway, and I only had, you know, for me, a very small amount. For most people, it would be probably too much, you know, and for me, obviously, it was too much too, but I ate the goddamn, I guess it would be the equivalent of half a sub, you know, so probably a 6-inch, probably a 6-inch sub. You know, it is what it is, man, right? And then I had the little baggie of chips. So, was that a smart decision? Obviously not. And so even as of yesterday, when I knew I was weighing in today, I somewhat sabotaged myself. And then my little trick of eating oatmeal. So when I eat oatmeal late at night, the consistency in which I make it is very dry. And that's always worked for me. It's always, I felt like it absorbed some of the moisture, or some of the internal moisture in my intestines, and I felt like that was why I always lost weight by doing that. Well, last night I poured in too much water, so it was a very liquidy consistency on the oatmeal, and I feel like it just didn't do the trick that it normally does. And I knew that obviously when I made it, but I have this small issue of wasting food, which is dumb. I should have just, oatmeal is the cheapest thing in the world. Close to it, outside of rice probably, to make, and so it was a mistake. I shouldn't have ate it, and I should have known better, and I knew it as I was eating it. So I'm not surprised. The other poor choices I made this last week, I bought a box of sugar-free cookies, and I probably live less than 15 minutes away from the store I bought them. And by the time I got home, let's just say it wasn't 100%, but let's just say the whole box was gone. You know, that's on me, man. That's my fault. That's my mistake. That sabotaged this weigh-in a little bit, so if I wouldn't have done that, maybe I would have made it. To compound the issue, I bought a half gallon of sugar-free ice cream. Because fuck it, I wanted to. That was gone within a day and a half. So I am on this journey, but I do have quite a few issues that I have to deal with, and I know a lot of you guys do too, and that's why I share this with you. It just is what it is, right? I have to get rid of that. Okay, now we're caught up. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that I didn't meet the goal, I missed it by 4 pounds or close to 4 pounds, that shit sucks, man. But this is the point that a lot of people just give up, right? They just quit. They stop. They're like, you know what? I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I can't accomplish the goal. I can't, you know, I've tried everything. I've been getting up 3 days a week, which isn't enough. 3 days a week, exercising, fighting this, you know, food battle I have, and it's just not enough. I'm not getting it done. So a lot of people will give up, but I encourage you to watch this entire journey throughout the rest of the year, because I will get there. As long as I consistently fight the diet and I consistently stay on with my exercise routines, I'm gonna get there even if I don't want to. Even if I sabotage myself over time, I will get there. I will fight this fight that I got going on here. So I talked very early on in today's ride, and a lot of you would have missed this, but I talked real early this morning about the unconscious mind and the goal as it relates to your health. And we'll revisit that a little bit, because it's not something you will have heard before, because it comes from me, not some book. But the goal of health is to create an unconscious healthy mind, not a conscious healthy mind. And the difference is that a conscious healthy mind is somebody who meal preps, is somebody who obsessed about what they eat, how much they eat, when they eat, all of these things. And they're not necessarily bad things. Matter of fact, 100% of you have to go through that, because your unconscious mind is what has gotten you where you're at. It's why you overeat. It's why you eat processed foods. It's why you eat preserved foods. You don't do it consciously. You just do, right? You just eat. You buy what's available at the grocery store. We no longer hunt or grow our own foods. We just go to the convenience store and conveniently, unconsciously feed ourselves. The idea of a unconscious healthy mind is this. It's pushing yourself into a state in which you unconsciously eat the healthy foods, the whole foods, the natural foods, the raw foods, and you don't overeat. You only eat what is needed, so small portion sizes. It's not a conscious thing, it just is what you become. That is the goal. And nobody would have ever told you that before. That's not something that you would have read in a book, because this comes from your big buddy Dave with 47 years of life, over 30 years of health and wellness. I'll use the millennial term of awakeness and being conscious of the ideas as it relates to the human body and mind when it comes to health. And yes, I say this from the position of a fat man, so making stupid choices in life, which weightlifting and powerlifting I will throw into the stupidity can. But I'll tell you that the goal that you have is to get to that unconscious healthy mind. Whether you realize it or not, that is the goal. It is not to be conscious of the fact that you're waking up to exercise. Just what you do. Like, what else will you do? You wake up and breathe. You breathe all day. You wake up and eat something eventually. You have a coffee. It's not something you think about. It's just something you do. Exercise is something you do. It's not something we all do now. It's something we all should do. If you have a physical labor job, you know, maybe you don't have to worry about it as much, but maybe you have to worry about possibly your cardio. You have to work on your cardio health instead of just being active. Maybe your job keeps you active, but it doesn't do much for your aerobic state. But the idea is not to have a conscious thought of it. It's not, I'll work out if I can. I'll work out because I just do. It's everyday life. I eat the right foods when I walk through a market. It's just what I do. I don't think about it. I don't try to find the greatest and the latest and greatest. I just make the right choices unconsciously. Not a thought goes into it. It's just what I do. That is the goal. That is the goal, whether you realize it or not, is to have the healthy unconscious mind. And I know that we're indoctrined into this lifestyle that we currently have in our school system. Anybody that homeschools, I commend you, because our children are being subjected here in the United States to a rule that we choose not to control as the citizens. We allow our schools to determine what that healthy unconscious mind is all about. We allow our schools to feed our kids junk. They fed us junk. So if you were born in the 70s, even the 60s, you grew up on junk, and you were indoctrined into the idea of preserved food, processed food, and no longer natural food. And so just realize that our children today are even indoctrinated into that. They're indoctrinated to the idea that health is not important. Gym is no longer required. Arts aren't even required. All it is test, test, test. And I get it. I understand that we are competing against countries like China as it relates to our students. But realize that we're only taking a portion of what these Asian countries provide to their children, because they also provide a forced regimen as it relates to exercise and diet. And we don't want to do it all, we just want to do a little bit. So we want them to have the same math scores. We don't want them to have the same health scores. We don't even think about it. It's not even a discussion. We're going to cut programs. We're going to cut things like music and gym. And by far, those are the worst decisions we can make as a society, in my opinion. Because we create this unhealthy, unconscious mind where our kids don't even consider the fact that they're being unhealthy. And so there is no way to change that in our current society quickly unless you choose to homeschool. So I commend anybody that has set their life up to be able to do that. I am not one of those people. My children go to public school, and I realize that right now the best I feel like I can do is make them conscious of the idea that they are making their choices for food and activity by means of manipulation from their own school. And I don't try to make them conspiracy theorists, but just understand what I'm trying to say here. Your health and wellness goal is an unconscious, healthy mind. That's your goal. You don't want to have to think about what you're eating. You don't want to have to think about exercising. It's just what you do. You eat the right amount of food. You make the right choices of what types of food. You eat whole foods, natural foods, not preserved. And I am by no means an angel, nor am I criticizing people, because I am you. I make the same poor choices. I've been indoctrinated into this unconscious, unhealthy mindset and habits myself. We had the big old chunks of pizza for lunch in school. We had the burritos. We had, all your favorites were just setting your body up to unconsciously eat the wrong shit. You don't think about it, and you do desire it. Think about the cereals that we ate was our healthy breakfast. Don't skip breakfast, eat your cereal. Well, look a little closer into what you were eating back then and what you're feeding your children now, and realize that you're creating a dependency, a chemical dependency in your children and yourself. It wasn't something you consciously did, nor did you think you were doing wrong. And you can open my refrigerator today and see pure examples of this evil. I don't know what else to call it. Let's call it evil. And it is what it is, man. It's not good. It's not good choices that I've made. It's not good choices that have been indoctrinated into my mind, or into your mind, or into your children's mind. It's just, it just is what it is. So like I said, you're not going to hear this from anybody else. This doesn't come from a book. This comes from your buddy Big Dave, aka Oaf, aka 47-year-old fat man. But that's my goal. My goal is to be unconscious of this idea of health, is to literally do it without thinking, to make the right choices of food, to only desire the right choices of food. I'm somebody that used to smoke, and I smoked out of enjoyment. I loved smoking. And a lot of smokers may not admit that to you, or may not completely grasp the fact that they're the same. But I smoked because I loved it, It was a habit, it was a chemical dependency, but I liked smoking. And when I quit, yes, there was a chemical dependency, but that took less than, and I quit a lot over the years, but that took maybe 4 to 5 days to truly get past the chemical dependency. It was the mental dependency. It was the habits that was the biggest challenge. And I'd love to tell you that there was one trick I used that worked over another, but the fact is that I had several tricks over the years that worked every time I used them. So I'll give you a few of those, because I think that they can work on different issues that you may have. They may even work as I talk them out. They may have a light bulb go off on the top of my head on what I need to do this time for the food issues. And no, this isn't a light bulb. That is my chrome dome with a light on it. But so not the last time I quit smoking, which has been over 5 years now, I think. But the last time I quit smoking before this last time, so the time before that, I think it was in 2012 or 2013 when I finally quit for good, almost, but not quite. I started developing this concept of triggers. And so the idea behind triggers was, what I wanted to do was figure out when I had the urge to smoke, what was causing it. So I would take the time to try to figure out what the trigger was that made me want to smoke. And I learned a couple of unique things, but the final thing was really the trick. What I realized in this idea of discovering your trigger was that I had two very specific triggers, maybe three. One, whenever there was a light over my right shoulder, I wanted a cigarette. Well, I smoked in my house at the time, and my man chair was, had a nice little coffee table and a light over my right shoulder, and whenever I would sit down, I would light up a cigarette. And I unconsciously had this trigger developed from that. So that whenever there was a light over my right shoulder, it triggered me to want to smoke. So that was one thing I learned. The next thing was whenever my heat and or air conditioning turned on in my home, I also wanted to... Hey, bud, hey, how you doing this morning? I also, whenever my heat or air conditioning would click on, I'd also want to smoke. And what it ended up being in that case, I realized, was the click noise. Something about that clicking noise just triggered me to want to smoke. And at that point, I'd go outside. So there was something over time that I developed that when I heard that noise, I would go outside and have a cigarette. And some of those bad habits actually came from going outside because it was also an excuse at work to get away. So a lot of people smoke just to get away from their job, take a break, which most employers hate you for, by the way. But the final trick in the trigger theory, we'll call it, was what I ended up realizing was in the amount of time it took for me to figure out what was caused, because there were several other little things that I suspected were triggers, such as driving, things like that, that were more obvious. Getting in your car and wanting a cigarette, getting out of your car and wanting a cigarette. Maybe it was closing the door. I never took the time to figure it out. But what I finally figured out was that in the amount of time that it took me to decide or figure out what trigger was causing me to want to smoke was the amount of time it took for me to get over that sensation of needing to smoke. So mentally and in somewhat physically having the desire to have a cigarette, I would get past that in the 1 or 2 minutes it took me to figure out what the trigger was at the time. So what I realized is that if I fought the desire to have that cigarette or that puff, that I would get over it. And so even without looking for the specific trigger, just holding out for 60 to 180 seconds was enough time for me to get past the desire and not have that cigarette. Of course, that only worked so long and I ended up smoking again. We let excuses like stress. I let excuses like I like to smoke. F you. I gained weight again, so who cares? F you. And so I started smoking again after that. And when I finally quit for good, it was a whole different method in which I used. And so I'll describe what that method was too, in an attempt to hopefully help you possibly get over an addiction you may have. So, and this isn't going to work for everything because somewhat disgusting for some people. So some time ago, I had this healthy transformation that you can see on the screen there. And I had several companies when I left that company want to work with me. And so some friends of mine paid for me from a different company to come down to Arizona to go to an event, a health and wellness event that was a celebration for that company that they have annually. Holy shit. Damn, the ride just got hard. Me sitting there. Anyways, so, you know, this is a health and wellness company. I smoke like a chimney, and I decided, well, I'm gonna go, but I probably shouldn't smell like a cigarette when I get there. And so I consciously quit smoking a couple of weeks ahead of time because I didn't want to go there smelling like an ashtray. I washed everything I had probably 3 or 4 times to try to get the smoke smell out of it. And then of course I went on to Arizona to the event with every intention of smoking again when I got back home. But I didn't want to. I knew I shouldn't smoke. I knew it wasn't good for me physically. I mean, some smokers will know the smoker's cough, and I had that. I get in the shower, whenever I get into a moist environment, I feel like I was hacking up a damn lung. Disgusting. And because I had quit so many times over the years, one thing that I realized was that whenever you start back up smoking, it doesn't taste good. It actually tastes like hell. And so what I did consciously, purposefully, I decided that when I got back that I was going to let that smell and taste be something that nauseated me. And so I would force it to just taste worse in my mind, to almost throw up, to be nauseated by the smell and or taste. And I never let myself get over it. And even thinking about it right now, I had done such a good job of manipulating my own mind that I even feel sick as today. Even talking about it right now, I'm actually feeling nauseated thinking of that sensation of that smell or taste. And so that's what's kept me away from cigarettes. And it's unconscious now. Similar to the idea of this unconscious healthy mind that I've talked about, it's not conscious. The only conscious thing I have is if I smell cigarettes, I still feel sick. So if somebody comes around me with cigarettes, I don't feel good. And I don't ever want to, and I won't allow myself to ever feel good. Now, I did realize that drinking was an issue, that when I went to the bar or when I had drinks, that smoking was something I also did. And so I've just stayed away from a lot of that. I don't go to the bars. At 47 years old, I don't need to be at the bars. So I don't really go to the bars. I don't really drink hardly ever. I'm not saying that I don't drink, because I will have one if I choose to. But I'll be honest with you, I don't even remember the last time I had an alcoholic beverage, period. It's probably been over a year. And it's not conscious. Like, it's not, and that's the point I'm trying to make of the unconscious healthy mind, is that's the goal you need to have, in my opinion. The epiphany I've had for people as they're going through this is to get to that state of mind where you aren't even thinking about it. I don't miss alcohol. I don't miss cigarettes. It's not even conscious for me. I've figured out a trick that works for me to keep me, that got me over the hump years ago, but it's not conscious. It's an unconscious thing. I don't even consider smoking. I don't even consider drinking. I just don't. It's not something my body physically desires or my mind desires. So I'd love to tell you there's an easy way to get to that, but there isn't. If you missed the conversation of the unconscious healthy mind, the idea behind it is that is your goal. Right now you've been indoctrinated into an unhealthy unconscious mind, which means that you eat shit, you eat preserved foods, you eat processed foods, and you don't do it consciously. It's just what you do. And the goal should be to go to the extreme on whatever it is you're doing. Eat whole foods, eat unprocessed foods, and get to where you don't even think about it. It's just what you do. You only eat the right amount of food. You only eat the right portion sizes. You don't overeat. You don't buy things that you shouldn't buy. You just don't do it. And you don't do it consciously. It's just who you become. That's my goal. And I'm nowhere near there. As I've talked about the failures of the last week, you guys will know I am hypocritically speaking and preaching this idea of the healthy unconscious mind. And I know for some of you it's a little hippity-dippity-doo. Hey, good morning, bud. For me to be talking like this. But the reality is what I'm trying to do is challenge you to have a different thought process in how you think. How do you think? And how do you unconsciously think? You know, we all wake up. We all just go and do things. And it's unconscious. We breathe unconsciously. We eat unconsciously in most cases. If you meal prep, that is a conscious thought. It's not sustainable. The goal is to eat healthy. The goal is to make right choices. Eat whole foods unconsciously. Eat the right amount of food unconsciously. That is the goal. To have a healthy unconscious mind is to have perfect choices throughout your life that you don't even think about. Getting up and riding a bike is not a conscious thought, it's just something I do. It's not where I'm at today, but it is the goal. It is to say that when I wake up, that I actually move. And I don't think about it, I just wake up and go from the bed to the bike, the bed to the trail. To make health a priority unconsciously, not in a conscious manner. That is the goal. And it's something that has to be repeated over and over again consciously until it becomes unconscious. Yeah, I agree. Cake is gross. Yeah. And you're right, man. You're dead set. That is, when I stopped smoking, that was it, man. That was what I did. I consciously made a decision that I wasn't going to allow my body to get past the nastiness of smoking. My taste buds now are repelled by the taste. My smelling sensation thinks that smoke sucks. It's terrible. It makes me nauseous. And I allow myself to maintain that nauseousness. And that is the way I've gotten there. And you are dead on, man. If I can convince my mind of the same thing as it relates to refined sugars, then I will have probably won the battle. Because I don't consciously think of smoking at all. I'm only reminded of it in a negative way if I happen to smell it or be around it. I don't expect to ever taste it again. So, you're dead on though, that's it. I mean, to make cake and donuts and all these other things be something that is unconsciously repellent for me personally, that is a goal. So the healthy unconscious mind is the goal. I know it, like I said, it sounds like a hippity-dippity-doo concept, but if you think it through well enough, you'll realize that you are currently in a state of unconsciousness in what you do daily. Almost everything you do throughout the day, only a small percentage of it are things that you actually think about, that you actually plan out. Most everything you do is unconscious. It's how we cope. It's how we are able to do multiple things at a time. It's how we are able to do multiple things in a day, is by unconsciously doing them. I mean, think about the woman. I'm going to use the old days instead of the current situation because I think it's too touchy, but think about the women that you remember driving down the road and doing their makeup while they're driving, or the businessman that used to read the newspaper while he was heading down the, I-75 or whatever your highway is. There was a level of unconsciousness. They were driving unconsciously. And there's different ways to say that, but they were able to do multiple things at once, probably in an unsafe manner in some cases, but in many cases, very safe. They had taught their brain how to multitask in what most would consider the most dangerous way. And not everybody is skilled enough to do things like that. But just realize that when you saw a lady heading down the highway at 70 miles an hour putting her makeup on, there was a level of unconsciousness allowing her to do that. So she was keeping one eye on the road, whether it looked like she was or not. One part of her brain on her makeup, and some other part of her brain probably figuring out what she's going to do after work, is my guess. And the businessman was reading the paper, watching the road, trying to consider what he might be doing again later on that day after work. So we cope with our unconscious mind. We're capable of doing so much more. The idea that I'm trying to present to you is the idea of an unconscious healthy mind. Something that you develop through force by changing your habits, and then creating an unconscious habit of just getting up and exercising, getting up and eating right throughout the entire day, going to the grocery store and buying the right products. All of these things need to be done unconsciously. Meal prepping is not a healthy lifestyle. It is great for a specific goal. It is great to get from point A to point B, but it is not great as it relates to full health, long-term health, vitality that you need for your body. It is not a lifestyle. Meal prepping is not a lifestyle. It can become an unconscious lifestyle. It might be just what you do, but if you're thinking it through and it's something that you like, oh shit, I gotta go do it, that's not what we're talking about here. It's just the unconscious healthy mind is something that you just do. That you've created this lifestyle that you don't even have to think about. Like waking up and getting on the bike, or hitting the road, or hiking, or running, or going to the weight room. It's not even something you think about, it's just what you do. You don't think, well, god dang it, I gotta wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning so I can go to the gym, so then I can work out for however long it is, and then I gotta get home and I have to shower, and after this I have to... It's not even a thought. You don't even need an alarm. You just wake up at 4 a.m., head to the gym, enjoy your workout, come home, take your shower, wake the kids up, have a family breakfast, move on to the day, read your paper before you start driving so you don't kill somebody. I mean, you just do unconsciously, and that's the goal. The healthy unconscious mind is a mind that doesn't have to think about doing the right thing, doesn't have to think about eating the right foods, it doesn't have to think about portion sizes, it doesn't have to think about exercise, it just does. So that is enough of the hippity dippity do hour with Dave Bernard. I'm open to any conversation or topics you guys would like to have today. For those of you that are just jumping on, the reason that you see, oh god dang, it's only an hour and something went wrong here, because I've been riding since, man, what time did I even get on here? I got on before 6 a.m. and it's 6:36, so I've been riding for, god, more than an hour and 19 minutes. I don't know why it says that, so, or maybe it is, maybe it's all I've actually been pedaling, maybe I keep stopping so much and don't realize it. So my unhealthy conscious mind is taking over instead of my healthy conscious mind So, but anyway, so what happened was this morning, I had a goal of getting down to 300 pounds by today, before I got on the bike. And when I woke up, I think around 5:30, jumped up, got on the scale, and I was 305. And so I was 5 pounds heavier than what I committed to getting to this week. Some of it's from bad choices. Some of it was, who knows, just the weight loss god saying, ha 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 ha, fuck you. So I decided I was going to do something about it, and I got on the bike early, and I rode for just over 40 minutes, and then weighed myself just before 7 a.m. I thought, you know what, there's enough time, and I didn't hide it from anyone. I got on here and started streaming at 6 a.m. and told everybody what I was doing. I want you guys to be a part of the entire journey when it comes to transparency. And so I made an attempt, and I thought I could do it, was to lose 5 pounds in 45 minutes, because I knew it was probably water weight and a good old bowel movement maybe, and it didn't work. As you can see on the chart, I only got to, I think, 303 point something pounds. I don't know what it says, 8, I can't remember now. And so I missed it. You know, I missed it by nearly 4 pounds. And so now I just got to reset the goal. I mean, I don't know where I'll be at after I get done riding this last, hour or so or less. But I've reset the goal for next Wednesday to get to 299. I would hope that I would get there. I would hope that I would lose more than that. But I'm going to go ahead and take that milestone of breaking the 300 barrier. Over the last few years, when I've made some attempts to lose weight again, it seems like 300 pounds was an issue. A year or so ago, I got underneath it, but as soon as I got there, I stopped trying again. That seems to be one of my personal sabotages that I continue to do, which is when I hit a goal, so let's say I would have hit 300 pounds, then maybe I would celebrate tonight by overeating. Or maybe I would overeat for a day or two, so tomorrow and maybe Friday, and I'd weigh myself and see that I gained weight and then try to get back at it again. So those are some things I have to change personally. But I share all of this with you guys because I'm not unique, man. Right? I mean, I'm the same as you. The same problems and struggles you have, I have, and so I want you to see them over the next year, or now the next, 8 months or so, 7, 8 months. I want you to see this struggle so that you realize, 9 months, I can't do math, man. I want you to realize that it's just not, it's a roller coaster, and it's natural to have it. Because if all I did was show you the weight loss or the success that I had, and that's what I did in 2012, I only showed you my success. What it ends up doing for you is that when you go on the roller coaster that all of us go on, you start thinking, well, Dave's better than me. He always has success, and I seem to never have success. And the fact is that your success in weight loss is usually only 1 or 2 days at a time, and the rest of the time it's either stagnant or you gain weight, and it's kind of normal. Throughout the day you'll either stay the same or gain weight or maybe lose weight. I mean, every day is a little bit different, and you just can't beat yourself up. You have to trust the process that if you keep fighting the fight, that you will get there, but you can't ever give up. You can't let off the gas. It's okay to fail. It's okay to fight through your own personal issues like I do, but it's not okay to continue to fail. It's not okay to, like, oh shit, I had a piece of pizza, or I ate the pizza. By the way, I'm the guy that eats the pizza, not the piece of pizza. So it's the idea there is that you don't sit there and go, well shit, I ate the pizza now, or I ate the ice cream this last weekend, so fuck it, I guess I can't do it. I'm not strong enough to do this, so I guess I give up. That's not the goal. That's not what you do, Hey Tina. that's the goal, man. I mean, you've got to just keep fighting. And that's what I did in 2012. And so my 2012 example, even though I'm not following the same plan or the same timeline, what it taught me and what I want to teach you guys is that it's okay to stumble. Just don't keep stumbling. It's okay to eat the pizza. It's not. But don't eat it again. Don't eat it, you know, because you had it for breakfast doesn't mean you're going to have it for lunch and dinner. Or it doesn't mean that because you screwed up this weekend that you're going to screw up the whole rest of the week and give up, or the next weekend. Or you're going to go into this routine of continuously having cheat days because, oh well, right? You just got to keep fighting it. You just have to keep fighting. If you do that, I always told everybody I was 80 to 90% good back in 2012, and that's how I got my results. You know, yeah, I made mistakes. Yeah, I overate here and there. But one of the other things that I did that I only brought back into the game last week was I set shorter goals. So I originally set a 90-day goal of losing 40 pounds, which I didn't even think was, I guess I somewhat thought it was possible, but I knew it was a bit of a stretch, like it would take some urgency. I'd have to do it in order to prove whether or not this product worked or not. And so what I brought back to the game last Wednesday was setting the shorter term goal of what am I going to weigh by next week? And what do I have to do to get there? And so losing 10 pounds was the goal. So I weighed in last Wednesday at 310 pounds, as you'll see on the ticker there below. And I lost 7 pounds. That's all. I wanted to lose 10, I only lost 7. Which for most people would say, man, that's great. But understand that that weight, that number, is very relative to me personally. I am a fat mother effer. I have a lot of fat in my midsection. I have a lot of fat in my legs right now. And so 10 pounds for me is not the same as 10 pounds for likely you. So 10 pounds should not have been a giant challenge. If I would have committed to 7 days of truly going after it, of putting in every effort I could, both physically, nutritionally, and mentally, I'd have crushed it, but I didn't do it. I knew 10 pounds wasn't a big deal for me. I should have set a goal of 15 pounds, which probably wouldn't have been possible, but if I'd have truly went for it, I would have actually hit the 10. So I know that. I've been through it before several times. I've coached hundreds of people and seen this phenomenon occur over and over again. I understand what 90 days does to a person, and there's two different thought processes when it comes to 90-day challenges versus 21-day habit-changing challenges. It takes about 21 days, by the way, to change a habit, is what the science tells you, but that's a cookie-cutter set of rules, because not everybody's the same. Some people can change their habits in 7 days. Other people, it takes years. So, because they've got to figure out the right thing that works for them. As long as you continue to fight for it, it's totally fine. If 21 days works for you, great. On average, that is the case. Science will tell you that. But also, when it comes to weight loss, and also business transformation, there are some other proven facts, but 90 days is actually, on a weight loss standpoint, been proven to be a perfect timeline to really start to manipulate and change your metabolism. There's something that happens in that last, 20 days of the 90 days that your body just starts to take to what you're doing. And so it may, for some people, be fighting you the entire way, all the way up to the end, and then it breaks through. It's just, science. You can get your metabolism under control. Now, if you have some other physical ailments, they may be fighting you. If you're on certain types of medication, that might be a problem. So you just have to keep fighting that too. I do advise everybody to get with their own physician and get their blood work done. As long as they're not a wimp like me, get it done as many times as you can and continue to monitor your blood work. That's going to tell the story, because I do believe for different people that the more medication you're on, the harder it is to manipulate your metabolism. It does, unfortunately, fight you a little bit. Back in 2012, I made the radical decision to not take any medication, even though my levels said I needed to. And so I didn't have the medication fighting me. The reason I'm not willing to do that this time around is, one, I'm older. 2, I weigh more starting out. 3, I've documented the blood sugar issue, so I know where I was at starting out, and it was at a very dangerous level. It would be considered type 2 diabetes, not pre-diabetes, which is what I was at before. And so I just want to make sure that I'm being safe. And of course, from a cholesterol standpoint, I really don't even know where I'm at anymore. So I actually am due for more blood work. I'll probably be doing that in the next week or so. Fortunately for me, the company that I use, Quest Diagnostics, actually has an app, and I'm able to keep track of it over time and see how everything is going. So I should have had my blood work done in December, but I knew I had been not following the rules, and I didn't want to see where I was at. I didn't need a test to tell me I was effing it up. And so so I wanted to get a few months of exercise in before I went and got my blood work. I know it's dangerous and stupid to do that, but now I'm at the point now I just don't have, I'm not scared of blood work. I have whatever the phobia is for needles. My phobia is not, it's not, you know, I don't pass out. I don't get nauseated. I don't cry. It's not actually painful for me. I have a fight reaction. I literally want to, it's not fun for anybody involved, but I figure I've learned over 47 years how to deal with getting the blood work done, but I almost have to be dying to get into a doctor's office or a testing facility to have blood drawn. So it's just something that probably happened when I was a kid. Actually, specifically did happen when I was a kid. There's no probably about it. I kind of remember some of the trauma that I went through. And I say it's not a pain thing, but in some respect, I think it was when I was, so I can take a punch all day long. You can hit me all day long. I can run through brick walls. I can do all kinds of superhero shit, right? But if you prick me just a little bit, for some reason I'm more sensitive to that. So just something I've always struggled with my entire life. It was part of what drove me to lose weight in 2012, because I knew that if I didn't do it, I fortunately or unfortunately had the experience when I was younger that I worked for the American Diabetes Association, so I knew the dangers of high blood sugar very specifically. And so I interned for 3 years in college for the American Diabetes Association, by the way, in an effort to hopefully get myself over needles. Didn't work. And so that's just my own personal issue, that's all. I mean, there's other people like me out there, but so I avoid it. Unfortunately, I avoid anything related to needles, even though I know I shouldn't. I know it means, but if I'm in a life and death situation, no problem, just take care of it. Or if I multiply have to get needle work done, you know, multiple days in a week, the first time is kind of a struggle for everybody involved, and I warn them. And there's some tricks that I've learned that work for everybody. But as the days go on, I've had some dental issues in the past where I've had multiple trips throughout a week, and it gets easier. It is what it is. I'm not ashamed of it and don't care, you know, that people have their own opinion of it. You know, matter of fact, the only time it mattered was throughout my younger life, when the doctors would be like, "Oh, come on, big guy, you know, you don't be a wimp." It has got nothing to do with being a wimp. And the problem with my with my phobia is that it is not the flight phobia. It is a fight phobia. And it is, at certain points in my life, been a very scary event for anybody around me. When I split my head wide open, there wasn't a person in that hospital that felt good about me being there. When I split this finger wide open, the doctor refused to work on me because I was threatening his life and had to be strapped to a table by not only physical leather straps, but 2 nurses and my father holding me back from going after. I mean, it's pretty crazy shit when it, you know, and I've learned to control it over the years, but it's a bad phobia. It's pretty negative. So, right, wrong, indifferent, whatever, it's reality. And you know, the thing is, and I hope people appreciate this, is that it's easy not to tell people your faults. It's easy not to tell people the problems that you deal with. But the reality is that people have to hear it, because most people don't talk about these things, and I think it's important for people to share their challenges just to make other people realize that they're not different, you know. And what I have issues with, you know, may not be the same as you, but hopefully it gives you comfort in realizing that there's other people out there struggling with different things. For me, in this ride or this journey, you know, it's my food addictions. Now you understand I have a needle phobia issue that I can get past. And by the way, if you've seen any of my earlier rides, yes, I have tried to overcome it with tattoos even when I was in my early 20s. So this was an attempt to try to overcome the needle phobia. And it didn't work. Kind of worked, but obviously it didn't work. So it's a deep-rooted issue that probably more than likely stems from early childhood trauma, but I digress. You know, and I get it. Some of you guys might be looking at this as, holy shit, he's crazy. Well, we all have our certain levels of crazy, and if you don't admit to that, you crazy. I think it'll be interesting this morning, seeing how I rode a little bit more. I've taken a shit ton of breaks in the last half hour of riding, but or last 50-some minutes. But I think it'll be interesting to see what I actually weigh in. You know, it'll be funny if I actually have lost the 3.8 pounds, I think it is, that I need to lose in order to get to 300 pounds. But, you know, I set this goal of being there, of making the weigh-in before 7 a.m. and I didn't get there. And so we're just going to set a new goal for next Wednesday to be at 299 pounds to break the 300 mark by next Wednesday. And I need to do everything I can and not cheat to get there. And if you listen to my hippity-dippity-doo speech earlier that I've had twice today now, is to get to this idea of a healthy unconscious mind. It's to get to the point where I don't even think about it. I just wake up and work. I wake up and work out. I don't overeat. I only eat healthy whole foods. I don't eat processed foods. I don't overeat. I eat proper portion sizes. And it's a mentality that I verbally, audibly need to repeat over and over again until it becomes an unconscious fact of life, or a way of life, or lifestyle. So you may hear this more than once. You would likely see this on a blog post on oaflife.com if I ever decide to write blog posts. I keep saying I'm going to, but I haven't. Oh man, only 4 minutes left. So I've been on the bike for nearly 2 hours now, but it only shows 1 minute and 35. What that means is that I've only been physically pedaling for 1 hour and 35 minutes. I've taken a lot of breaks. The way that this setup works is that there is a cadence sensor on the bike, and that cadence sensor, when I am not moving, you will not see the wattage that you see above me. And when you don't see the wattage, I shouldn't say that, the RPMs, the clock will stop. It only clicks when I'm actually pedaling, which is fair. It's not the same as being outside, because when you're outside, if you're riding down a hill, you don't have to pedal. One of the issues when it comes to cycling and weight loss is that you don't have the same effort that you have in other types of exercise. And so, or even a treadmill. So a treadmill, you're not powering, you're just keeping up. But you're still moving, but it's not relying on you. You could jump off the damn thing and it would still be counting, unless you're using a measurable pod in your shoe. You know, a treadmill is not the same. So this is more reality as it relates to effort, which is all that really matters anyways. But I have been on the bike since around, oh man, 6 a.m., just before 6 a.m. And I did that in an attempt to lose weight before I weighed in before 7 a.m. I missed the goal, and oh well. Oh, shit. And try to put a little bit more effort in the last couple of minutes here. Got a couple minutes left to go. Probably on the Zwift game, just try to get it to an hour and 40 minutes total, whatever that ends up being. It'll end up being around 20 miles. I don't know what kilometers are, but in equivalent to miles. But I would guess that I will have ridden close to 20 miles today. Like I said, I think it's going to be interesting to see how much weight I actually lost those last couple hours. It'll be funny if I get down to 300 pounds. I can at least say I got to my goal, but it won't be in the time frame that I expected to. So we'll just count that towards next week's goal of getting to 299, which is going to be a roller coaster ride. I promise you. It will not come easy. Oh my God, man. It's starting to kick in, guys. The pain is kicking in. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Tina. What I'll do is I'll try to leave the stream on and weigh myself as soon as I get done, and then I'll come back and report that to everybody. So the stream will run for a few extra minutes while I weigh in, and I'll let you know as soon as like I said, within a few minutes of getting done here. That way you don't have to wait. So I'll let you know. I'll type it up on the chat board, and I'll change the ticker at the bottom, so on Friday morning's ride it'll be there also of what I actually weighed in today. I'm gonna ride. I know my alarm's going off. I'm gonna ride for another 30 seconds or so. All right, sorry, 30 seconds now or so. We'll just finish this out round number of 1 hour and 40 minutes. You know, last week, Tina, I can tell you that last Friday, I weighed in at I had a 5-pound weight loss last Friday after my ride. And so I actually thought I cockily, not a word, I confidently decided, oh, well, there we go, we're done. I overconfidently decided that I could probably lose, you know, quite a bit of weight, even if it was waiting until the last day. And the weight loss gods laughed at me and said, ha ha ha, no you can't. But I'm gonna weigh myself right now. I'll be right back. Hold on. Whew. So if you're still there, thank you for waiting. I am at 301.6. So 301 pounds, 0.6, whatever the hell 0.6 means. So I'm at 301.6, and I started off at 305 point something. I don't remember. I think it was, I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but 305 plus and down to 301.6. So 30. So weighed in at 301.6. So that's what it is. As real as it can possibly get, guys. That is the story of 320 2019 301.6. You guys get to see now how to end a ride. It's pretty easy. So I am connected to both my Strava app and my Map My Ride app. And so this will convert everything over to miles for me, and I'll be able to look at that later on. And I love that you guys talk. I appreciate the community that's been created through some of the people that watch my ride. I think it's pretty awesome. It actually helps me get on every day, just knowing that you guys are going to be there. And I know I've said it over and over and over again. You know, I'm going to get the chrome dome off of here. So, man, so there we go. That was it. That was the ride, guys. That was the ride. So the goal was to get down to 300 pounds. I only made it after my ride to 301 point, whatever the hell I just put in there. Can't even remember now. So 301.6. The goal for next Wednesday is to get to 299 pounds. And it can be 299.9. I don't give a whatever. My goal is just to get down below 300 pounds because that is a benchmark weight for me. That's something I've struggled with over the years. When I've consciously tried to lose weight, it seems like I always got stuck right about where I'm at right now. Now, I believe that my body is in a different state today than it was through those years. So I don't expect to have the same issues, but that's the goal. So I do have a 90-day goal that to be down to 270 pounds by June 3rd, and a bigger goal to be down to 244 pounds, or mission 44, by January of 2020. But I'm also in the beginning here just trying to set some smaller, quicker goals weekly. So right now, 299 by next week. I'll decide next week where I need to be at for the next week, and then the goals will start to change. I won't be doing weekly goals. It'll be every 2 weeks, or monthly goals in order to continue, because it'll get harder over time to continue to lose the weight. But the reality is that it shouldn't be that hard. And I'll tell you guys what's going on throughout the journey. I mean, as I change different, whether it be supplementation or diet or exercise, whatever I'm changing, I'll make sure that you guys are a part of it. And I have committed to Monday, Wednesday, Friday throughout the year here on Zwift. So you can expect that I will always be here, unless two different ways that I won't be here. One, I lose power and or internet, or two, I haven't figured out a way to do it while I'm traveling. So here coming up in the first weekend of April, I will be in Austin, Texas, April 4th through the 8th. And so that Friday and Monday, I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to pull that off. And even if I do, it'll be at a different time slot just because of the time change. So, but I intend to exercise. I just don't know if I'll
have it set up to where I'll actually be able to stream. But I have made the commitment. I'm going to do it all year long. Hopefully you know me by now to realize that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to put every effort into doing it. So unless there's something out of my control, you will see me here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Unfortunately, we do have daylight savings time, so that time may change throughout twice a year. It's already changed once this year. It's going to change again later on in the fall. It is what it is. I can't change time. Can't change the rule yet. Anyways, thanks guys for watching, and we will see you Friday. Peace.